Would you like to know how a variable annuity works and how much it can cost you? Well, by the end of this video, you will gain clarity for your personal retirement plan and have action items to secure your retirement.
To learn more about securing your retirement and all the different elements you need to know, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to be notified when we post a video every Monday. We have helped hundreds of our clients gain clarity and get on the path to a comfortable and happy retirement. Now it's your turn. Let's dive in.
Welcome to our Retirement in Action. The focus of this podcast today is around a question that comes our way quite a bit, and that is, how does a variable annuity work? And we're going to really kind of help you get a nice picture of what a variable annuity is, how we view them, where we would use one if we were going to ever use it. But I think in order to give you the best understanding of a variable annuity and how it works, we need to take just a minute and kind of give you the whole world of annuities. And we're going to do this in a very high level. And then we'll break down the variables. So if you were to just imagine for a second, you've got annuities, and imagine that there's really three main categories of an annuity. One, which is the oldest version of an annuity, is what is called an immediate annuity. What that means is that you give an insurance company a lump sum value, a lump sum amount of money, and then they are, in exchange for that money, going to give you an income stream immediately every month or year, however you want to take it. And they're going to guarantee that that income comes to you for the rest of your life, but you give up your balance. You no longer have a lump sum amount. So I'll give you an example, and this is very hypothetical because I'm just going to make the numbers easy and round. Let's say that you gave $100,000 to an insurance company and you used what is called an immediate annuity. Then they will give you back an income. So let's just say that that income was $500 a month. Then you're going to receive that $500 a month for the rest of your life, no matter how long you live. But you do not have an account that you can go and say, hey, I need to put a new roof on the house, or I need a new car. And so therefore you're going to go get some money out of an account. There's no longer an account. What you have is an income that you cannot outlive. So that's an important thing. But I will tell you that because it's irrevocable, a lot of times people are very like, I don't know if I want to put my money in that type of an environment. And that's okay. We're right now, we're not trying to tell you what's good or bad. We're just trying to tell you how it works. Okay. Now, the second category are called fixed annuities. So when you hear that term fixed, just realize that that means that it's a fixed interest rate, and there's no volatility based on that annuity, based on anything going on in the stock market. Your principal is guaranteed by the insurance company. So again, I put $100,000 into it. I could have my money guaranteed by the insurance company that says my principal's never going to go below $100,000 except for withdrawals. There are two major types of fixed annuities. One is called a declared rate. A declared rate simply means I'm going to get a fixed interest rate for a fixed amount of years. So I might get 2% or 3% for 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 years. And then at the end of that, I can renew, I can walk away, I can do whatever I want. There's also what are called fixed indexed annuities, which simply means that the interest rate that you receive is based on an index, kind of like the S&P 500, NASDAQ, or Dow. But I can never lose if that index is negative. I can make a zero, but I can't lose. Now, any one of those annuities, I can turn on income streams, and I can get an income off of those annuities. And then there's a third major category, which is called variable annuities. And when you hear that word variable, it means that what I earn varies, and it varies based on the investment that I'm in. So if I have a variable annuity, I'm going to invest in different types of instruments. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but I can lose. My value can go down if those investments are down. And then there's things that I can add to that annuity to help protect my income. And we're going to talk about what those are as well. So that's just kind of giving you the other world. So again, the three are this: an immediate, think about what that means. Immediate means immediate income. Fixed means I have a fixed interest rate or a fixed principal. I cannot lose my principal. And then variable. Variable means that my return varies based on the investment structure. So if you just think about those numbers, or those words, it kind of starts to make sense. So now what I want to do is transition and have Merce tell you a little bit about this, because the rest of our conversation for the most part is on this variable topic. How does the investments work?
Yeah. So, we've done a whole segment on, several segments on the fixed index annuity arena. And we've talked about the variable in the sense that we're not the biggest fan of the variable annuity. It applies in certain situations, but those situations are pretty seldom. And we'll talk about that as well. But as far as how you make money or potentially lose money in a variable annuity, it comes down to the investment. So basically you purchase an annuity from an insurance company, whatever that insurance company is. You purchase a variable annuity and you put in a lump sum of money into it. And then what you have to do is select your investments within the makeup of the annuity. And so these are called sub-accounts, essentially. You can invest in mutual funds. Sometimes you can invest in ETFs within the variable annuity, but those are what they call sub-accounts. So your account is the variable annuity, and then your sub-accounts are the investments within the variable annuity. So whether it's investing in the S&P 500 or a mutual fund, one thing that I think is very important about the variable annuities is your investments are kind of limited. So think about your 401k. When you have a 401k plan, the company creates the plan, and they also choose how many investments you have, how many investment options that you have. Well, the insurance company is doing the same thing. They create the annuity, and then they also create all the different choices that you have within the sub-account world. And so you're sometimes a little limited. You definitely can't go buy, well, in one instance, you can, but for the majority, you can't just go buy, let's say you wanted to buy Apple stock. You can't really do that in a variable annuity. The insurance company is going to structure sub-accounts typically around their own company. So let's say it's John Hancock or Lincoln Financial, the insurance company that is providing the annuity. They're going to be providing as well, very likely, mutual funds that they have created or they have managers for. And then there'll be some other ones out there as well, but you don't have the whole world that you have access to like you do if you just had an IRA at TD Ameritrade or Charles Schwab or Fidelity, where you can pretty much pick anything that you want to invest in. You're limited once again to what the insurance company has created in those different sub-accounts. So you may only have 10, 15, 20, 30 options, whereas in the other situation, you have the whole world of options. So that there's a investment limitation there. But once you decide what you're investing in, you invest in it. So you choose a few different sub-accounts, a few different mutual funds, and then you're riding what those investments do, whether they go up in a given year, whether they go down in a given year. You're completely subject to that market risk, just like you would be in the stock market. So unlike in the fixed annuity world, just to make the comparison, in the fixed annuity world, you can't lose due to a down market. You can't lose due to an index falling. The worst you can ever do is earn a 0% rate of return for a given period of time. Whereas in the variable, if the S&P falls by 32% in a given year and you're invested in the S&P, well, you're going to fall that 32% as well. And then on top of that, there are other things going on internally within the variable annuity, which is, if you ever Google, should I buy a variable annuity or anything like that, you'll see a lot of articles that come up and they're talking about fees and the hidden nature of some of the fees within the product. So I think, you can buy a variable annuity, you can invest, you can make a good rate of return, but you can also lose value. You can lose your principal. And so that's where we have just some issues with it, because why not just go and do that into a brokerage account or into an IRA that you control yourself and you have ultimate flexibility. And the big difference here is a variable annuity introduces fees. So I think that's the next thing that we talk about. There's a whole slew of fees, mortality expense, admin fees. And then also, if you're investing in the stock market, there's investment expenses as well. And then there's rider charges. So Radon, you want to take a couple of those and break them down for us?
Yeah. So pretty much what I want to do on this just is to make sure that you're aware of the fees, so that if you ever were looking at a variable annuity, you had somebody talking to you about it, you want to ask them about these fees. One is called a mortality expense. So in all essence, it's kind of like a death benefit, but it's really not going to ultimately give you a death benefit, but it's a little bit of what they have built into it as a fee called mortality expense. You then have an admin fee. The admin fee is really for the insurance company to say, hey, this is what it's going to cost you for us to administer or do the administration part of the annuity. You have investment expense. That means when you invest into the mutual funds that Merce was talking about, they have cost to them. We find those costs to be somewhere in the area of about 1% a year. And then you have rider charges. So remember, I told you that sometimes within the variable annuity world, that because the annuity can lose value, riders were built that says, hey, if you buy this rider, you can have income protection, or I can have principal protection for death benefit purposes. And so you can add that on to the variable annuity, and that will help protect that. Those fees, again, can be anywhere from 1% to 2% a year. And if you add all of those things up, just those fees to park your money into a variable annuity, if it's a commission-based annuity, it can be 3 to 5% a year, whether you make money or not. And think about that. If you had a year where you were down, let's say the stock market was down 5% that year and you lost 5%, well, now you got to add 3 to 5% of fees on top of that. And so to us, it's very difficult if we go into a traditional variable annuity and it makes sense. Now, a lot of the annuities, I shouldn't say all, scratch what I said there. A lot of the annuities have surrender charges in addition to that, which means you're going to be limited to access in the variable annuity. And those usually can graduate out anywhere from 3 to 7 years on a variable annuity. So when you look at all that, you kind of start to say, well, then why would I ever do a variable annuity? And I will tell you that from our perspective, we really can only think of one good reason to use a variable annuity, and that is for tax deferral purposes. And now all annuities are tax deferred, but I personally believe that if you're going to use a variable annuity, you would not put IRA money in a variable annuity. And the reason why is because my IRA is already tax deferred. And if I'm going to try to get either safety on my money, I wouldn't put it in a variable. I'd put it in a fixed if I were going to pick that. Or if I wanted to invest my money and get a good rate of return, I would just invest my money where my fees are much lower. So why would I go into a variable annuity? So if I have somebody who has a sizable amount of money that's not in an IRA and they do not want to pay the taxes each year on their earnings, they could use a variable annuity and have all of the growth on that money and as well as the taxes on it deferred to some point in the future where they can control that a little bit. And so because of the fact that this is an important issue, there are variable annuities that have been stripped down for that purpose. So the idea of a surrender charge is gone. We have no, it's 100% liquid. I can put my money in and take it back out, 100% liquid with no money. Out of the caveat, by the way, in an annuity, a variable annuity, you have to be 59 and a half not to have a tax penalty on your growth. So when I say immediately liquid, I'm not talking about taxes. I'm talking about liquidity out of the annuity. But Merce, could you just kind of like talk a little bit about how that would look and what that would look like? I mean, again, there are many of these out there. We're going to just talk about what it could look like. We're not trying to quote you a specific product. We're just trying to tell you about how it could look.
Yeah. So the idea here, which we like for a variable annuity, is once again, it's a non-IRA. Essentially, it's a brokerage account. So let's make a comparison of, let's just say you have a brokerage account at Fidelity or Charles Schwab, and it's got, let's say, I don't know, let's just say $100,000 in it. And then you've got a variable annuity that is a non-IRA variable annuity that's got $100,000 in it. Now, the brokerage account at Charles Schwab or Fidelity is going to do what it's going to do. It's going to make some money. It's going to probably receive some dividends, some capital gains, whatever it is happens in the year. You're subject to taxation in that year. So you may say, well, I don't know if I like that. I just don't like dealing with not knowing what my taxes are going to be every single year because of this brokerage account. Well, you could go over into the variable annuity world. Now, you can't make everything perfect. There's still, in my opinion, there's still some issues. You're just kind of kicking it down the curb in the sense of taxes. So let's say that $100,000 in the variable annuity grows very well and it grows to 200,000. Well, you've paid nothing on the $100,000 of gains there. It's all still sitting in the annuity, tax deferred. So that is a nice advantage. You haven't had to deal with it, but now you get down the road and you're starting to withdraw on these accounts in the brokerage account, and you've paid a lot of the taxes on it, potentially already. And so your withdrawals are not going to be too heavily taxed. In the variable annuity, it's going to be fully taxable until you reach into your premium. So what the technical term there is LIFO. The last thing that goes in is the first thing that comes out, which means the last thing that went in is your gains. So your gains are going to be fully taxable. So let's say you pull out $100,000 out of that $200,000 variable annuity. That $100,000 is fully taxable as ordinary income, not as long-term capital gains. Whereas sometimes you can have long-term capital gains in that brokerage account. So you kind of have to ask yourself, which situation do you want to deal with? And in neither situation are you getting rid of the taxable issue that comes with these types of accounts. But in one, you're dealing with it year by year. And the other, in the variable annuity, you're kicking it down the curb until you actually start taking withdrawals, which can be very advantageous. And so it's kind of one of those things you just have to weigh. But yeah, the variable annuity, specifically the one that has no surrender charges, has a tiny annual fee to it, can be very attractive to some people. Sometimes the sales pitch for variable annuities is, well, you'll get tax deferral in here, and you can add in these riders and these income riders and these death benefits, and you're just in our opinion, all you're really doing is adding in some things that you shouldn't be doing to this product anyway. So if you break it down to the very simplistic way of looking at the variable annuity of just saying, hey, all I want is to be able to invest, and I want tax deferral on this money, well, then it can make some good sense.
All right. Well, I hope that gave you a nice overview of variable annuity. We're sure that it does not answer every question you would have. So if you have further questions, feel free to visit our website, pomwealth.net/blog. There's tons of articles there that you can check out, but up there on that page is a place that you can click on a button that says 15-minute introduction call. It is at no obligation, no cost to you, but you'll talk to Merce or I, either one, and we will be able to just answer some basic questions. And a lot of folks take us up on that, and we enjoy having those conversations. So check out our website, and if we can help you, we'd be glad to. But until next time, we hope you have a great week.
We hope this video has given you some confidence and clarity as you plan for a worry-free life in retirement. But what else do you need? We have created a complimentary video course called 3 Keys to Secure Your Retirement. This video walks you through step by step what you need to do to get ready for retirement. You can also check out our podcast called Secure Your Retirement. You can subscribe below.
For more retirement tips, watch this video. Create your retirement income plan. Also, click here to subscribe to our podcast, Secure Your Retirement. If you like this video, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe and share it with your friends.